Hey guys, hope you're doing okay today and having a great weekend. Actually, I hope you're doing more than okay. I hope you're doing fantastic. I'm gonna do a sound check quick as always. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Let's see. Sound check 1, 2, 3. Yeah, perfect. Cool. Now you hear me singing doing the sound check. So welcome guys. Today we're gonna be starting with a new book. I don't think we've read this one before. It's called Healing the Shame That Binds You by John Bradshaw. It's an outstanding book. I cannot recommend it enough. If you're on this specific path of coming through childhood PTSD, complex PTSD, developmental trauma, all these kind of things, this is such an important book to read. And so, yeah, without further ado, we're going to be picking this up at we're on page 171, and this is in chapter. Let's see if I can find. No, chapter. This is starting from chapter 3, the major sources of toxic shame. Yeah, we'll come back to that. Okay, but now we're gonna go through abandonment through abuse. This section. All forms of child abuse are abandonment. When parents abuse children, the abuse is about the parents' issues, not the child's. That's why it is abuse. Abuse is abandonment because when children are abused, no one is there for them. What's happening is purportedly the child's own good, but it isn't about the child at all. It's about the parent. Such transactions are crazy making and induce shame. Young children, because of their egocentrism, make themselves responsible for the abuse. The child says to himself, "My caretakers couldn't be crazy or emotionally ill at all. It must be me." A child must maintain this idealization. Children's minds are magical, egocentrical, non-logical. They are completely dependent upon their parents for survival. The idealization ensures survival. If my parents are sick and crazy, how could I survive? It must be me. I am crazy. There's something wrong with me, or they wouldn't be treating me this way. The child doesn't have a chance. Alice Miller points out that the child can't know what has happened to them. All abuse contributes to the internalization of shame. Some kinds of abuse are more intensely shaming than others. Sexual abuse is the most shaming of all abuse. It takes less sexual abuse than any other form of abuse to induce shame. Sexual abuse is widespread. The estimates of the frequency of child abuse are staggering. Our awareness of this problem have grown tremendously over the past 35 years. This is a quick heads up. I moved on to the next section. In the past, our understanding was limited to a kind of horror story incest victim. Such stories involve physical, hands-on sexual abuse. Today, we've greatly expanded our understanding of such abuse. In John Bradshaw on The Family, I presented material on SA adapted from the workbook of P.A. Melody at the Meadows, a treatment center in Wickenburg, Arizona. The following is from Bradshaw on The Family. SA, which I will abbreviate that to avoid any kind of issues here, which you guys know what that is. SA involves hands-on touching in a sexualized way. The range of abusive behaviors that are sexual include sexualized hugging and kissing. Any kind of sexual touching or fondling, oral and anal sex. I don't want to say it because I don't want to like trigger any kind of like flagging things like that. So I'm trying to figure out how to read through this kind of like bumpy text. Masturbation of the victim or forcing the victim to masturbate the offender, and intercourse. Number 2, overt SA. This involves voyeurism and exhibitionism. This can be outside or inside the home. Parents often sexually abuse their children through voyeurism and exhibitionism. The criterion for home voyeurism or exhibitionism is whether the parent is being sexually stimulated. Sometimes, parents may be so out of touch with their own sexuality that they are not aware of how sexual they are being. The child almost always has a kind of icky feeling about it. Overt incest can take place when a parent has repressed his or her sexuality and has faulty boundaries. Ralph and Max were both seduced by Felicia's unresolved sexuality. Uh, she asked him to help her undo her girdle and hook her bra. She often appeared in her panties and came into the bedroom to urinate when one of them was in the bath. They had no curtain, so while urinating, mother could look at their genitals and they could see hers. These boundary violations took place during the boy's juvenile period, a time when both were too old and sexually overstimulated by their mother's behavior. One client told me her father would leer at her in her panties as she came out of the bathroom. Others speak of having no privacy in the house, much less in the bathroom. I've had dozens of male clients whose mother bathed their genital parts through 8 or 9 years old. Children can feel sexual around parents. This is not sexual abuse unless the parents originated it and consciously stimulated it. It all depends upon the parent. Here, I'm not talking about a parent having a passing sexual thought or feeling. It's about a parent using a child for his own conscious or unconscious sexual stimulation. 3. Covert sexual abuse. Now, this has like different sections. So, section 8 is verbal abuse. This involves inappropriate sexual talking. That or any significant male calling women's whores, objects, objectify sexual names, mom, or any significant female member, depreciating men in a sexual way. Yep. Check. It often involves parents or caregivers having to know every detail about their child's private sexual life, asking questions about the child's sexual physiology, or questioning for minute details about dates. Covert sexual abuse also involves not receiving adequate sexual information. Yep. I've had several female clients who didn't know what was happening when they began menstruating. I've had 3 female clients who did not know their vaginas had openings until 20 years old. A covert kind of sexual abuse occurs. Sorry, that's not funny, but it's ridiculous. A covert kind of sexual abuse occurs when dad or mom talk about sex in front of the children, when the lead age level of the children is inappropriate. It also occurs when mom or dad make sexual remarks about the children's bodies. I was working with 2 male clients who were traumatized by their mother's jokes about the size of their penises, and female clients whose fathers and stepfathers teased them about the size of their breasts and buttocks. B. Boundary violations, still within the sexual abuse, the covert sexual abuse. This involves children witnessing parents' sexual behavior. They may walk in on the parents because parents don't properly close or lock doors. It also involves the children being allowed no privacy. They are walked on the bathroom. They are not taught to lock doors or to give permission to lock their doors. Parents need to model appropriate nudity, i.e., need to be clothed appropriately for a certain age. Children are sexually curious, beginning around the age of 3, or between the ages of 3 to 6. Children start noticing parents' bodies. They are often obsessed with nudity. Mom and dad need to be careful walking around nude with young children. If mom is not being sexually stimulated, the nudity is not sexual misconduct. She is simply acting in a dysfunctional way. She is not setting sexual boundaries. The use of enemas at an early age can also be abusive in a way that leads to sexual dysfunction. The enemas can be a body boundary. The enemas can be a body boundary violation. Number 4, emotional sexual abuse or covert incest. Emotional sexual abuse results from cross-generational bonding. I've spoken about enmeshment as a way that children take on the covert needs of the family system. It is very common for one or both parents in a dysfunctional marriage to bond inappropriately with one of their children. The parent uses the child to meet their own emotional needs. This relationship can easily become sexualized or romanticized. If the parent has unresolved sexual issues, the daughter may become daddy's little princess or the son may become mommy's little man. In both cases, the child is being abandoned. The parents are getting their needs met at the expense of the child's needs. The child needs a parent, not a spouse. This is why it's so important to stand up for yourself, guys. According to Pia Melody, When one parent has a relationship with a child that is more important than the relationship he or she has with a spouse, and that parent has unresolved sexual issues, a strong possibility exists that the child will be emotionally, sexually abused. Sometimes both parents emotionally bond with the child. The child tries to take care of both of the parents' feelings. I once worked with a female client whose father would get her in the middle of the night and put her in bed with him in the guest room. He would do this mainly to punish his wife for sexually refusing him. The daughter suffered greatly with confused sexual identity. Generational bonding can occur with a parent and a child of the same sex. Most common form of this in our culture is a mother-daughter. Mothers often sexualize. Uh, mother often has sexualized rage, i.e., she fears or hates men. She uses her daughter for her emotional needs and also contaminates her daughter's sexual feelings about men. The issue is whether the parent is there for the development of his or her child's needs rather than the child being there for the development of the parent's needs. And when children have the capacity to be sexual in a way appropriate to their developmental level, whether an adult is being sexual with the child or sexual abuse is going on. So this is a very sensitive topic, guys, talking about different kinds of abuse and challenges, consequences that come from abuse. Let's see. I think we can continue a little bit more. There are a few different sections here. Yeah, okay. The next section is about older siblings. So, older siblings, some sexual abuse may come from older siblings. Generally, sexual behavior by same age children is not sexually abusive. The rule of thumb is when a child has experienced sexual acting out at the hands of a child 3 or 4 years older and being introduced to sexual behaviors that are inappropriate, it is usually sexually abusive. For example, Jane is 10 years old and Sally is 7. Jane and Sally engage in juvenile sex play, something quite common during the juvenile period. Jane wants Sally to use a dildo and have anal sex with her. This book is getting crazy. The behavior sends up a red flag because it's far too sophisticated for a 10-year-old and suggested that Jane is reenacting something that has been done to her by an older person when she is acting out this on her young friend. Physical abuse, spare the rods and you spoil a child, has been used forever as a biblical justification or injunction for corporal punishment. Physical violence against children and women is a part of ancient and pervasive tradition. Generally speaking, physical violence is only second to sexual violence in terms of the toxic shame it creates. Furthermore, physical violence is highly addictive. It is shown, I've already shown it to be a form of the character disorient. I've already shown it to be a form of the character disordered syndrome of shame. Sorry, just having my smoothie. I'm so hungry today. I just left gym, so I'm like really still hungry. Offenders are literally addicted to the power that physical violence gives them. Physical offenders, like the fear they induce into others. Violent offenders are shame-based and can completely avoid their toxic shame by bullying and hurting others. So bullying and hurting other people allows you to bypass your own shame, according to this John Bradshaw. And that's why people do it. Not saying that it's right, but that's why people do it. He says that it works. The profile of physically abusing parents includes the following: isolated, poor self-image, lack of sensitivity to others' feelings, usually physically abused themselves, deprived of basic mothering, having unmet needs of love and comfort, are emotionally retarded and in denial of the problems and the impact of the problems, and feel that there is no one to turn to for advice. Wow, that last one, feel that there is no one to turn to for advice. Physically abusive parents have totally unrealistic expectations of children and expect children to meet their needs for comfort and nurturing. When the child fails to meet their needs, they interpret them as a rejection and respond with anger and frustration, dealing with children as if they were much older than they actually are. This book is so good, y'all. Oh my gosh. I forgot how good this book was. There is no good data on the extent of physical abuse. The usual data covers those that are reported. I've excluded those not treated by physicians, those cases treated by a physician but not identified as abuse, and those cases identified as abuse but not reported. It's estimated there are 200 unreported cases for every reported case. There are 200 cases of abuse, child abuse, for every single reported case. Do you understand how fucked up that is? So, for every one case of child abuse that is reported, that means there are 200 for every one that has been reported that are not reported. That blows my mind, man. And to be honest, it's probably getting worse now because we are living in so much more pressure and chaos. Jesus Christ, I'm so grateful. Inshallah, I don't have no child. Thank you right now because I cannot handle it trying to do all of this and still have a child. I'm so glad and grateful. We're moving on with the reading. The ownership of children by parents and the belief that children are willful and need their wills broken provide a rationale for spanking children. That's like literally the most ridiculous thing you can ever do. If you think the point is to break the child's will, that's to break their soul. That's to break their essence. It's to break their identity. So if you're doing that, then the child should not even be alive. Like if you had a child to beat them, to control or destroy or distinguish their will, then there's no point to have a child because that child does not even have a life anymore. And so that's why when I see people beating their children, I feel like it's so stupid, you know? Like, why the fuck would you have a child just to kill them? You understand how stupid that is? Like, you had a child just to kill them. What is the point? You know, I think that anybody who is seen beating their child should be going to jail immediately. There is no excuse for that. That's why this society is so fucked up as it is now. I have a compilation, continuing with the reading. I have a compilation of several clinical studies in my new book on moral intelligence and the life of virtue. All these studies online, all of these studies outline the real danger and severe consequences that come with corporal punishment. The victim of physical violence is also bonded to the violence of acted out of shame. I'll read that one more time. The victim of the physical violence is also bonded by the violence or to the violence out of shame. In the beginning, the victim bond sheer out of terror. Oh, God, y'all, words flipping today. In the beginning, victims bond out of sheer terror. But as the abuse continues, their self-worth diminishes. As self-worth diminishes, victims lose their ability to choose. They become like starving children, looking for morsels of crumbling love. Because violence is irrational and impulsive, it is often random and unpredictable. The random quality of violence sets up what Siegelman calls learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is a kind of mental confusion that learned helplessness is a kind of mental confusion. The people can no longer think or plan. They become passive, accepting the abuse. I can't imagine a more soul-murdering destruction of human life. Voila, y'all. Oh my God, y'all. This is so little bit triggering, you know? It's a little bit triggering, you know? I remember when I first read this book about 2 years ago. It's been a long time since I'm now coming back to it, and I've learned a lot. It's really such a shame. Continuing with the reading, physical violence is more common in family life because the tenets of the serious pedagogy promote and support corporal punishment. It is still endorsed as a way of teaching children about life. One common nursery rhyme about the old woman who lived in the shoe attests to common acceptance of corporal punishment. Physical violence is the norm in many dysfunctional families. This includes actual physical spankings, having to get your own weapon of torture, being punched, slapped, slapped in the face, pulled on, yanked on, choked, kicked, pinched, tortured with tickling, being threatened with violence of abandonment, being threatened with jail, police, witnessing violence done to a parent or a sibling. And the last is a major issue in homes where the wives are battered. A child experiencing the mother or sibling being battered is equivalent to the child being battered. A witness to violence is a victim of violence. The next section is emotional abuse. And this will be the last section. Some emotional abuse is nearly universal. Let me take some water. I believe that everyone has been shamed to some degree by emotional abuse. The poisonous pedagogy is quite clear about the fact that emotions are weak. We are to be rational, logical, and not allow ourselves to be marred by emotions. All emotions must be controlled, but anger and sexual feelings are especially to be repressed. I can't imagine that many people in modern American life are affirmed and nurtured in expressing their sexual or angry feelings. Emotional shame binds. Our emotions are the core. Our emotions are the core of our basic power. Two of the major functions they serve in our psychic life are: number one, they monitor our basic needs, tell us what we need, loss or satiation. Without our emotional energy, we would not be aware of our most fundamental needs. So this is talking about the point of emotion. They give us fuel or energy to act. I like to hyphenate the word emotion, and emotion is energy in motion. This energy moves us to get what we need. When our basic needs are being violated, our anger moves us to fight or run. Our emotion, excuse me, our emotions are the scenes that involve our affect system. All human development, according to Sylvan Tompkins, is rooted in affect, feeling dynamics, because affects, feeling, are the primary innate biological motivator of human life. Our anger is the energy that gives us strength. The Incredible Hulk becomes huge, powerful Hulk when he needs energy and the power to care for others. Our sadness is an energy we discharge in order to heal. As we discharge the energy over the losses relating to our basic needs, we can integrate the shock of those losses and adapt to reality. Sadness is painful. We try to avoid it. Discharging sadness releases the energy involved in our emotional pain. To hold it in is to freeze the pain within us. Therapeutic slogans that grieving is the healing feeling. Fear releases an energy that warns us of danger to our basic needs. Fear is an energy leading to our discernment and wisdom. Guilt is our moral shame and guards our conscience. It tells us what we have transgressed, when we have transgressed our values. It moves us to take action and change. Shame warns us not to try. Shame warns us not to be more or less than human. Shame signals our essential limitation. Shame limits our desire for pleasure, interest, and curiosity. Fascinating. Shame limits our desire for pleasure and our interest and curiosity. Fascinating. So this is why you kind of freeze when you're in shame. We could not really be free without shame. There is an anonymous saying: of all the mask of freedom, discipline, limits is the hardest to understand. We cannot truly be free without having limits. Joy is the exhilarating energy that emerges when all of our needs are being met. We want to sing, run, and jump with joy. The energy of joy signals that all is well. Dismissal. Dismissal is the affect emotion that monitors our drive for hunger. It was primarily developed as a survival mechanism. As we become more complex, its use has extended interpersonally. Prejudice and rage against strangers, the ones who are not like us, have terrible consequences. Dismissal is a major sexuality factor. Disgust. Disgust follows the same pattern as dismissal. Originally a hunger drive auxiliary, it has been extended to interpersonal relations. Divorces are often dominated by disgust. Victim of abuse carry various degrees of anger and disgust. Rapists who KILL operate on disgust, anger, and sex fused together. When our emotions are not mirrored or named, we lose contact with our vital human powers. Patients who are out of touch with their own emotions cannot model those emotions for their children. They are out of touch and shut down. They are psychically numb. They are not even aware of what they are feeling. Their children have to unconsciously carry their feelings for them. I cannot. Oh wow, wow. Okay, yes. I cannot overemphasize the damage that occurs when our emotions are shame bound. Modern neuroscience is like Joseph Ledoux, Alan Ensure, and Diana Fosha have presented compelling evidence that our true sense of self is based on our authentic core feeling. Sylvan Tompkins has shown that our feelings are primarily motivating source of our lives. Without acknowledging our core feelings, we lose our sense of self. Our false selves are based on our old survival skills. Our false selves are like the script for play. Kimmy, what are you doing? You see the cat over there? She's doing some, just making some weird noise. Let's see. Yeah. Let me see. Where did I go to? Our false selves are like the script for play. The script tells us what feeling we should have. We learn to accept the script. The scripted feelings is authentic. The denial of emotions is actually sanctified by our most sacred traditions of parenting rules. These rules, especially shame children by denying emotions. Emotions are considered weak. I've heard to my children's emotions show weakness. Don't be emotional. Religion endorses the poisonous pedagogy. Religion endorses the poisonous pedagogy. Anger is considered especially bad. Anger is one of the 7 deadly sins. These sins send you to hell. In this most accurate teaching, the deadly sins is not really the emotion of anger, but the behaviors resulting from anger. Behaviors often linked to anger are screaming, cussing, hitting, publicly criticizing, condemning someone, or physical violence. These behaviors are certainly prohibitive. They are behaviors based on judgment rather than emotion. Many children are shamed for their anger. Children often see parents as angry and rageful. The message is all too often that it's okay for parents to be angry, but not for children. I think I will stop here. Yeah. No aspect has been. Yeah, okay, we're gonna stop there today. The next section is going on to sex-driven shame binds and shame, the master emotion. Yeah, so this is really abandonment through the neglect of developmental dependency needs. Yeah. Okay, fascinating, guys. This is really interesting here. Really interesting and sensitive text. Today we read through abandonment through abuse and the physical or sexual abuse and emotional abuse. So this is something that very sensitive, very deep, and yeah, it's something that really causes us to take a step back. I mean, this book is so powerful. Even in reading that section, I found myself a bit discombobulated and unable to even respond effectively because it is a little bit triggering, a lot of it triggering. It's such a powerful book, text, and if you're working on this journey, I cannot suggest this more. I cannot suggest this more. I mean, it is simply a fantastic text. So I'm going to do another quick introduction because I don't think that we've read the beginning of this chapter. Let's see. Where is that chapter 3 at? Yeah, here it is. Yeah, the sources of toxic shame. So I'm going to go and do like a little bit of reading from this, the sources of toxic shame. I'm going to do some jumping around there. But thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care and be well. Wait a minute. Where is the thing again? They keep changing this. They're moving the thing around. I can't even see, guys. Where is the thing? Oh, yeah, there it is.